My mother, a 45-year-old, and I am a 17-year-old, haven't had the best connection lately. I've met a lot of my parents' companions since their separation 12 years ago. My mother recently became engaged to her longtime lover, 51-year-old Ethan. She informed me that she intended to start again after her engagement celebration. I wanted to chat to my mom on the way back from her engagement party, but she appeared aloof, as if she didn't want to be in the car with me at that particular time. She seldom recognized me when I attempted to talk to her, telling her about my friends and school. We soon reached my dad's house. My dad hadn't been there for me since he established a new family with his now wife, an office colleague, and I hadn't seen each other in years. After parking the car, she faced me. She said that she was at her breaking point, and that in order to start afresh, she would have to let go of the past, and me with it. There was no emotion in her voice. I became motionless. She exited the vehicle before I could say anything, took my luggage out of the trunk, and placed them on the pavement. I was astonished that she cared about me, but I was also furious at her lack of concern. After several minutes of persistent knocking, my dad finally responded. My half-siblings were playing and yelling all around me. His expression said it all. He wasn't expecting to see me and wasn't thrilled about it. I could tell that I wasn't welcome even though he allowed me in. It seemed like I was trespassing into my own father's house. I was thinking how much I wanted. I had a mother like my half-sisters, while she was eating a sandwich that her mother had made for her. I chose to contact my maternal grandparents because I was feeling lost and rejected. I thought they would take me in, since they had always been good to me. Upon contacting them, my grandma promptly responded. She motioned for me to come over right away. When I got to my grandparents' house, I was overcome with warmth and affection. They gave me a sense of safety and belonging that I hadn't experienced in a long time when they greeted me with open arms. The following several days were spent conversing, laughing, and just being in their presence. My mother had rejected me coldly, which was a far cry from this. I chose to share a photo of the two of us on Facebook because I really wanted to save this moment now that I felt a little more safe. Just the three of us grinning in the living room made up the basic picture. At the time, I didn't give it much thought. All I wanted was to spread a little joy during a trying period. Still, the response was unexpected and quick. My mother was furious when she saw the photo and phoned me right away. She said that I was attempting to take her position and replace her in her parents' lives. She called and began screaming that I was turning her parents against her and that I could do this to her. I was surprised by her response. It seemed as though she was taking offense at me for wanting solace and assistance after she had rejected me. She wouldn't listen to my attempts to clarify that I wasn't attempting to replace her, and that I simply wanted someone to be there for me. Her hang-up left me feeling even more perplexed. I'm now at a fork in the road. I'm not sure if I should stay with my grandparents, who appear to genuinely care about me, or attempt to patch things up with my mom. There's a part of me that wants to make up with my mom, and a part of me that fears getting wounded again. I feel like I belong for the first time in a long time, because to my grandparents, who have been really supportive. Should I stay with my grandparents, or try to talk to my mom about things? First update. I gave this subject a lot of thought before deciding it was time to have an honest discussion about what happened. It was one of the toughest things I've ever had to do, but I knew I had to do it so they would understand my circumstances and help me recover. I could see the astonishment and sadness in their eyes as I related the events. They had no clue that things had gone this bad between us, and they were heartbroken to hear how my mom had treated me. They didn't interrupt as they listened closely, but their facial expressions said a lot. I was saddened by it, but I was also pleased that there is someone out there who actually does care about me. My grandparents took pains to let me know how much they loved and supported me. They assured me that my schooling would be taken care of, and advised me to concentrate on the things that really matter. They were quite explicit in saying that their house was my home, and that I should live where I felt secure and loved. I felt at home with their support, and a wave of relief passed over me, To talk about my alternatives and make sure I had a solid atmosphere to finish high school stress-free, we spoke with a lawyer. The attorney was very kind and provided us all the information we required to proceed, including the prospect of my grandparents taking on the role of legal guardians for me. My folks' response when we brought this up to them was intense. Enraged, my parents yelled at my grandparents, saying they were attempting to steal me away from them. Both parties were experiencing significant emotions throughout the conflict, but my grandparents didn't back down. They emphasized that given the instability and stress I had been going through, this was the best course of action for my overall health. They continued to be adamant, despite their acrimonious fights. Following a protracted and agonizing conversation, my mother eventually started crying. She saw that my grandparents' attempts to remove me were motivated by love and compassion rather than resentment. She reluctantly agreed to the plan, caving in. The attorney and I had a formal meeting. He went over the legal procedures needed to provide guardianship to my grandparents. My grandparents gave me their word that they would see this through to the end, regardless of how long it took. I was quite relieved and appreciative after the meeting. I felt so loved and cared for, knowing that my grandparents were prepared to go to such lengths to make sure I was okay. We started the legal procedure, which included obtaining the required documents, going to hearings, and making sure everything was in order. My grandparents persevered and handled it with dignity. I was no longer perceived as an inconvenience or an unwelcome guest. Rather, I felt valued and significant. This supportive atmosphere had a significant effect on both my general well-being and academic achievement. My friends and professors praised me as I started to perform well in my classes, and my grades started to rise. My grandparents and I developed a closer relationship every day. We laughed, spoke, and shared tales many an evening. They became into not just my protectors, but also my closest confidants and staunchest allies. A few months later, my mother began to harass me by phone and text in an attempt to make me feel guilty about returning. She accused me of betraying her and said that she was suffering without me. She was obviously more worried about her reputation and feelings than about my welfare because her texts were rife with emotional manipulation. Even though what she said hurt, I knew I had to keep her toxic conduct to myself. When I brought up her attempts to guilt-trip me to my grandparents, they reassured me that I should be in a loving and caring atmosphere. They reassured me that staying with them was not a bad decision on my part, and that I had nothing to do with my mom's behavior. I'm still trying to make sense of everything that happened. Though it has been an emotional roller coaster, I can now see the way ahead. I felt abandoned and alone for a very long time, to the point that I thought maybe I was the cause of my parents' divorce. I used to see parents picking up their kids from our school, and I longed for that affection and attention. There have been moments when I've fantasized of contentedly sharing my parents' home. I've come to the realization that this is the love I was looking for while I'm with my grandparents. My priorities right now are my future and my studies as I go through this difficult period. I am aware that there may be more challenging days to come, but I think I can overcome this with the help of my grandparents and the generosity of everyone who has shown me support. Second update. After my last report, a lot has transpired. My mother unexpectedly showed up to my grandparents' house and insisted that I return home. My grandma and I were having a peaceful day in the kitchen when there was a loud, persistent banging on the door. She started yelling without even saying hello, demanding that I get my belongings and head out right away with her. She said that my grandparents had turned me against her, and if they didn't cooperate, she would take legal action. Her allegations were getting louder and more personal, and it felt like the walls were closing in. The altercation got heated very fast. My grandparents, who were always serene and collected, maintained their ground with amazing resoluteness. She cried out, threatening to have them arrested, saying that they had no right to keep me there, and that it was almost like abduction. My grandparents maintained their composure in the face of pandemonium. They emphasized gently that they were not detaining me against my will, that I had decided to stay with them. My grandpa made an effort to reason with her, telling her that everyone wanted the best for me, and that, at this point, I needed security and encouragement. But my mother was in no mood to hear. My grandparents were obviously doing all in their power to keep me safe, even though it hurt to watch my mom in such a situation. When my mother tried to push through my grandparents and into the house, things really got out of hand. My grandfather indicated that her actions were wrong by politely but forcefully blocking her path. He advised her to leave, saying they would be forced to contact the police if she persisted. I used to believe that my mother didn't want me to be happy or loved in any way, but now that everything has changed, I can sense that she does. I feel like this is wishful thinking after what she said to me in the vehicle. The voices are all over my head, but I just need to know whether my mother ever gave me any thought. My mother appeared enraged. She yelled that this wasn't over and that she would return, making sure we regretted this, as she glanced at me standing behind my grandparents. She rushed out with that, leaving a thick quiet in her wake. As promised, my grandparents reported the incident to the police over the phone. We told the police what had happened, and they collected statements from each of us when they came. They reassured us that my grandparents had the legal right to protect me and that my mother could not take me away by force. Sincerely, I'm still upset by all my mother has done to me over the years, but I want our relationship to improve. My mother looked after me when my dad departed to live with his new family. On the weekends, we would have ice cream and watch movies, and I missed it. I longingly missed our quality time spent together. My mother was missing. I've asked my mom if we may go to therapy sessions after doing a ton of online research and spoke with several friends who gave me advice on how to improve our relationship. I expressed to her my desire for us to improve and for our family to be happy. I quickly made an appointment with a therapist and started therapy. I've established strict limits to safeguard my mental health, and with the help of my therapist, I'm learning how to manage these difficult feelings, even if it's still a difficult process. There were moments when the fights became really hot, and it was obvious that things were getting out of hand. We were instructed to have meals together as part of our therapeutic activities, since it's a great opportunity to get to know one another and learn about one another's life. My grandparents demanded that we eat supper together as a happy family at their home. My mother began making snide remarks when she noticed how close my grandparents are to me, and I knew she wasn't happy with how things had worked out for me. Between my mother and my grandparents, there were many disagreements. Perceiving that the situation would worsen, my grandma dialed 911. After hearing both sides of the tale, the authorities requested my mom to leave the area when they arrived. My grandparents and I sat down together after the cops departed, exhausted yet relieved. Although we were aware that this clash might not be the last, it strengthened our resolve to give me a happy, safe home. My grandma said that after what her daughter done, she no longer recognizes her. While I'm comfortable and happy with my grandparents, I would really like to have a positive connection with my mother. With all that has transpired recently, I feel like I have a lot of baggage to sort through. I frequently feel neglected and undesired. I realize that seeking treatment could be beneficial. I want to have a life in which I am not constrained by my history. I'm developing better coping skills and learning how to process my emotions via these sessions. Though the trip is lengthy, I'm getting closer to comprehension and recovery with every session. I feel less alone when I read tales like this online, but I also feel bad for them since they had to go through so much. My grandparents have been a huge help during this journey. To have a better understanding of my struggles and how they can support me, they join me for a few of my therapy sessions. Little by little, their devotion and affection are assisting me in getting well. I feel like I'm getting stronger and more in charge of my life every day. Right now, my future and well-being are my top priorities. I'm planning for college, pursuing new interests, and putting a lot of effort into my studies. My grandparents are assisting me with my scholarship applications and job research. Their house has turned into a haven where I may develop and flourish without worrying about moving away once more. Third update. I wanted to give you an update on how things are doing because it has been a few months since my last one. Living with my grandparents has been a whole different experience, and until recently, I was unaware of how much I needed it. I have been profoundly affected by the change from a chaotic and uncertain environment to a caring and secure household. To make sure I'm okay, my grandparents have gone above and beyond. To help me relax, they have established a schedule that includes family dinners, school time, and even a few game evenings. They truly care about my well-being and emotional state, and this has made me feel safe and like I belong. The worry and tension that used to prevent me have greatly decreased. My grades have significantly improved since I was able to focusing on my academics with the support of my grandparents. Teachers have noticed the difference, and it feels wonderful to be appreciated once more for my efforts and commitment. In addition, I've resumed my participation in extracurricular activities that I had to stop previously, and meeting new people with like interests has been amazing. Although it's been challenging, I've chosen to cut down on our communication for the benefit of my mental health, even though my mom has persisted in reaching out. To keep things amicable and productive, my therapist moderates our once-weekly planned call. Although these calls are difficult, they offer a safe space where we may talk without the emotional turbulence that marked our earlier exchanges. My therapist assists in facilitating these sessions, making sure the dialogue is civil and concentrated on re-establishing some semblance of a connection. There are tense periods as well as times when I see glimpses of my former mother. I've had to learn to control my expectations since it's a gradual process, and that trust and healing require time. Every day, I am appreciative of my grandparents' influence on my life. I feel protected, loved, and appreciated at their house, which is a haven. I never would have imagined that this atmosphere would help me develop and heal. My understanding of the genuine meaning of family and unconditional love has come from my grandparents' generosity and knowledge. I'm concentrating on developing myself, getting an education, and creating a future that fulfills my goals and desires. I'm aware that there will still be difficulties, but with my grandparents' help and the progress I'm making in treatment, I feel prepared to overcome them. Fourth update. After our recent meeting with a family lawyer, I'm happy to declare that my grandparents are officially my legal guardians. Knowing that I live in a secure, loving home where my well-being is given, first priority has been such a comfort and a source of security since this shift. A part-time employment at a nearby bookshop has also begun for me. So far, this work has been an amazing experience for me. I've had the chance to get to know some very amazing folks that like reading and studying just as much as I do. Working here has empowered me since it lets me support myself and save money for goals I have for the future, like going to college. My work has also given me a sense of responsibility and independence, which I value. My mother has been trying to get back in touch with me regarding our connection. I've made the decision to start family therapy sessions with her, even though this process has been emotional and challenging. These sessions are an emotional roller coaster. They can be intense, chaotic, even overpowering at times. With her ability to navigate the complex maze of our past, our therapist truly is a wonder worker. Every session is like removing layers of long-accumulated hurt and hatred. We've both shed tears at times when we've spoken honestly. My mother sobbed at one session, apologizing for things I never thought she would admit. All of the hurt and confusion spilled out, like if a dam had broken. There have also been some tense conversations. During a session, there was a lot of back and forth accusing, and the room seemed to be on fire from all the heated feelings. Our therapist, however, has been there for us over the entire process, guiding us through these choppy waters and motivating us to press on, even when it seems impossible. Our ability to resolve previous wounds and misunderstandings has been greatly aided by the therapy sessions. We've discovered a ton of long-buried emotions, some of which I was unaware I was harboring. Everybody feels as though they are cautiously treading over old scars that still have the potential to hurt while negotiating a minefield of emotions. It has been a really demanding procedure. There are times when I think I won't be able to move forward or endure any more suffering. However, there are other times when one feels incredibly liberated. Every unpleasant memory we face and every misconception we clear up seems to take a weight off my shoulders. It's ironic that facing the suffering head-on may give me a sense of liberation I haven't had in a long time. There are days when I come out of the therapist's office feeling utterly exhausted, my feelings unfiltered and visible. I feel as though I've completed a marathon, both emotionally and physically. I can sense the weariness and tightness in my bones. However, in the middle of this tiredness, there's also an odd, unexpected feeling of optimism. The tiny triumphs we accomplish during each session give us hope. We've experienced breakthroughs when we finally understood one another, times that seemed like sunlight breaking through a cloudy sky. These are rare and brief moments, but they give me the courage to keep going when my mom and I can finally come to an agreement on something that has been a point of contention for so long. We're improving our communication skills, which is something we've never been good at. We're beginning to acquire the skills necessary to listen to one another, albeit it's a gradual and sometimes unpleasant process. We're learning how to communicate and express our emotions without placing blame. We seem to be picking up a new language, one of understanding, respect, and empathy. Respecting one another's emotions and viewpoints is yet another important aspect of this path. Seeing things from my mom's perspective and learning about the challenges and anxieties that have influenced her behavior has been eye-opening. Additionally, I believe that she is beginning to understand how I perceive things and how her actions have affected me over time. Fifth update. Hi there to all of you. I wanted to provide some updates on my life, as it has been a while since my previous update. My grandma underwent surgery lately, and I had to be there to take care of her and my grandfather, so I was unable to update sooner. But the last 3 weeks have been busy, and I have some wonderful news to share now that my grandma is back home and doing well. I recently earned an honors diploma from my school. Having accomplished this goal makes me quite proud, especially in light of all that has transpired. My grandparents hosted a little graduation celebration for me to commemorate this. I felt truly delighted and rejoiced for the first time in a long time at the cozy and private get-together with close friends and family. The day was made unforgettable by their love and hard work. It was encouraging to see the pride in their eyes as they gave me congrats, because it gave me hope that all of my difficulties and hard work had been worthwhile. Although my mom and I still have a ways to go, I'm thankful for our development together. Family treatment has continued, with some improvement and some setbacks. Therapy has given us access to a regulated, encouraging, and organized atmosphere in which we may address our problems. There are times when our relationship inspires optimism in me because we make progress and have a bit better understanding of one another. These days, I see the possibility of our relationship being better and stronger. On other days, it seems as though nothing has changed and we are confined to our routines. I've learned to control my expectations and to appreciate even the little victories thanks to treatment. Setting limits and standing up for myself is one of the most important things I've learned in therapy. I felt for a very long time that I had to take anything that came my way. However, I now realize that my wants and feelings are real. I'm confident that this ability will benefit me much in every aspect of my life. My grandparents have supported me the entire way during this journey. Their steadfast assistance has given me the courage to take on these difficulties head-on. They've joined me for a few therapy sessions in order to have a deeper understanding of my viewpoint and discover new ways to assist me. In addition, I'm still working at my part-time job, which has greatly contributed to my sense of responsibility and independence. It has been difficult at times to balance job, education, and personal development, but it has also been very fulfilling. Sixth update. Another significant update. My ideal college has accepted me. It was strange when I got the acceptance letter. It seemed to be the result of all my effort and the encouragement I've received from everyone, particularly my grandparents. Their assistance with applications, school visits, and setting up a college fund to guarantee I can go without financial stress has been invaluable throughout this entire process. Their kindness and faith in my abilities have been so inspiring and heartwarming. A flurry of activity has been involved in getting ready for college. My grandparents and I have devoted several hours to learning about financial aid programs, exploring our housing alternatives, and making preparations for the move. They even took me on a surprise tour to the campus one final time before classes started, which gave me a chance to meet some of the teachers and students and get a sense of my new surroundings. I feel like I'm starting again with this chance, and I'm looking forward to what lies ahead. Though we still have a rocky relationship, there have been some encouraging changes. She surprised me by showing up to my graduation and by being kind and encouraging the entire time. One tiny but important step in healing our broken relationship was realizing she was there, smiling and applauding as I crossed the stage. Even though it wasn't a quick cure, her gesture meant a lot to me and demonstrated her effort. We have decided to continue improving our connection gradually. Our ability to communicate more effectively and deal with the underlying problems that have caused us so much suffering has greatly benefited from the family therapy sessions. Every session is a step toward recovery, providing a regulated and secure space for us to talk honestly. With the help of the therapist, we are able to have more productive interactions by avoiding misconceptions and cultivating empathy. I've let her know that my well-being and education come first for me at the moment. Setting boundaries that safeguard my academic aspirations and mental health has been made possible by this clarity. She has made the decision to respect it, understanding the importance of my growth and aspirations for the future. We're taking things one step at a time, focusing on building mutual understanding and trust. We can deal with deeply ingrained problems using this stepwise approach without becoming overburdened by each other. It's about small triumphs, those times when we can listen without talking over someone or speak our minds without worrying about what other people would think. No matter how little, every little interaction strengthens the base of our relationship. I'm feeling happier and more optimistic than I have in a very long time. My grandparents have been my pillar of support, giving me the security I need to follow my goals and objectives. Their house is a safe sanctuary filled with love and security, and it is there that I am inspired to be just who I am and to pursue my ambitions without fear. Their unflinching love and support have been the foundation upon which my healing and development have been built. Because of their support, I am confident that I am prepared to meet the difficulties that college presents and to celebrate the beginning of this new phase of my life. Although the idea of going to college is both thrilling and intimidating, I am aware that I will not be going through it by myself. My grandparents are assisting me in every way possible in my preparations, from assisting me in packing basics to providing guidance on how to successfully navigate unfamiliar social settings. I will take these lessons with me as I start on my new adventure, and I will be prepared to deal with whatever challenges may come my way. I have a positive outlook on the future, and I can't wait to see where it takes me. Aside from that, I've been thinking about the path that led me to this point in time. The ups and downs, the times of uncertainty and victory. All of these things have contributed to the formation of the person I am today. The power of self-advocacy, the significance of having supportive connections, and the relevance of having resilience are all things that I have learned. The lessons I've learned will remain with me as I go forward into the future. I am feeling more confident and positive than I ever have before as I go into the next part of my life. I am carrying your compassion and positivity with me as I move forward. I raise a glass to fresh starts and the promising future that lies ahead. I am excited about the possibilities and experiences that will be presented to me throughout my time at college, and I am determined to utilize them to the fullest extent possible. I am prepared to take on the world because to the solid foundation that my grandparents have always been